Christy.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. I'm excited. I'm glad we're able to do this.
I know, finally. How are you doing today?
I'm good, just the hustle of everyday mom life and diabetes life. But yeah, I feel like I've lived a full day and it's only noon. So
Yeah, I feel that. Where are you
yeah.
based?
I'm in Orange County,
Oh, okay. Is that where you're from?
in California. Yeah, I've lived here my whole life, except for college. I went to Arizona for a little bit, but yeah,
Okay.
I've been in California my whole life.
What part of Orange County?
Like I'm inland. I'm probably like 30 minutes from the beach. I
Okay.
don't really know how to describe it, but yeah, so it's beautiful here.
I'm like, is that considered inland? Only 30 minutes from the beach?
I know people tell me, I'm like, no, it's a 30-minute drive to the beach. It's far, but
I'm like, I'm in Denver, so I'm like, there's no beach anywhere close to me.
no,
So
not at all.
I know, I'm
Yeah.
like 30 minutes. That sounds great.
But you have the mountains and the snow.
Yeah, that's true. It's just different, but
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
so tell us about your diagnosis story.
Oh man, I have quite the story. So let's see. It was the year COVID hit, and January of that year, I got super, super sick, high fever, really short of breath. Basically, looking back, it seemed like it was COVID before COVID happened. But anyway, I was super sick for like a month and I just couldn't shake it. And then COVID hits, I'm working out, but my husband and I are baking, making drinks, but I'm losing a lot of weight. I lost like 10 pounds. I'm 5'7", so 10 pounds is kind of a lot. But I'm like, oh, I'm working out, whatever. But I started to throw up a couple times. I was eating and I would throw up, and then I felt like really hungry all the time, or the complete opposite. Like I would eat and I could not get full. Or the really I would eat and I would feel full like instantly. It was really weird. So that kind of made me think, maybe I should get blood work done. Do I have a stomach ulcer? Like, what's going on? So I got my blood work done, fasting, of course. And my blood glucose wasn't horrible. Like you hear some people's stories, and they're like 400, 500, but mine was like 230 fasting. So anyway, I remember it was a Friday. I was getting my hair done and the gastroenterologist calls me and hey, got your blood work. Your fasting glucose was 230. Were you fasting? Because if you were, you have type 1 diabetes. So give me a call back. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm getting my hair done. What do I do? So I think I called him back and, were you fasting? Yes, I was. He's like, this is weird. You have type 1 diabetes. And I said, what do you mean I have type 1 diabetes? Or, I think he said you have diabetes. Maybe he thought type 2, like a lot of diagnosis stories. And I said, this is so weird. I'm so healthy. No one in my family really has diabetes. Like, what's going on? And, he's like, it is weird. Like, okay, great. So, and that happened. I called my primary care doctor, who's kind of like a family friend, and he scared the crap out of me and told me I needed to go to the hospital immediately and I could die overnight. And this was COVID, so I'm terrified. My husband's outside. I didn't know what to do. They ran all these tests, x-rays, ultrasounds, and the doctor in the ER was like, oh, you probably have type 2, it can be reversed and whatever. I left the hospital at 4 a.m, drove and got a glucose monitor the next day, and I just didn't know what to do. And it was horrible. Like I remember calling endocrinologist and I couldn't be seen for 3 months, 2 months. Like there was no availability. And I'm thinking, I need insulin. What am I supposed to do? So that was kind of my diagnosis story.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how old were you at that point?
I was 30. I turned 30 in May, and this was August of that same year. So
Wow. Oh my goodness. That that whole story is crazy actually.
it
So
was
from when you were like sick, when you felt sick, when you're throwing up, how longer was it till you went to the hospital?
it was pretty right away. I don't remember the first time I threw up, but I remember we went to a small like COVID wedding in August. And I remember at the wedding, I threw up. And it's not like I was drinking. I mean, I was, but I knew it wasn't from that because I'd had like 2 drinks, but they had a pizza food truck. And so, I'd had probably like a margarita with, sugar, and then I had the pizza, and probably just all that glucose was just way too much for me to handle. And I just remember feeling so sick. Or remember, like, my husband and I would go to get dessert, and we'd be driving home, and I'd be in the car thinking, I cannot physically stay awake. I'm so exhausted. Like, your eyes just felt really heavy. So I remember those few instances leading up, but yeah, that was really quick, like 2 weeks after, I think.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you never had like a virus before, like anything like that maybe caused it, that you think?
I think that sickness I had in the beginning of the year in January, I don't know if it was COVID. I feel like it was COVID because the time I did get COVID, I hadn't had the vaccine yet, and I was fine. Like, I didn't feel great. I was definitely run down, and my husband had it and he was super sick, like went to the hospital. But I had like a pretty nasty cold. So I'm feeling like I had antibodies or something. I don't know. But whatever that sickness was in January that kind of knocked me out for a month, I think that probably kickstarted it, I'm guessing.
And then it was October when you were
It
diagnosed.
was August. So it was 8 months, 7 months. Yeah. But by the time May rolled around, I had lost about 10 pounds. And I was like, oh, I'm working out, this, and that. So that was end of January. I was sick. So maybe February, March, April, May, 3 months could be. And then I remember too, we went to Zion with some friends, I think in July. But I remember that hike being so difficult, like in the morning, I think I ate a banana and a muffin and all this stuff. And then I go on this hike, my blood sugar, I'm sure like 300, 400, who knows. And I remember having just horrible cotton mouth on that trip, like so thirsty. Yeah, so those were things leading up to it. But I think the throwing up is what kind of led me to go get blood work, because I knew something was wrong.
I think you might be the only person I know that has thrown up. Like everyone has like the classic symptoms, but like you, I think you're the only one that I know. I mean, I've heard stories of that before, but anyone I've talked to, so that's crazy.
I know, I feel like you don't hear that. And so I don't know what happened. I thought maybe, like, do I have a food allergy? I don't know. I just thought it's COVID. I'm stressed. Have I developed some stomach ulcer? I didn't know what was going on. I did not expect type 1 diabetes.
Did you know anything about type 1 diabetes when they told you that?
Yeah, so I actually that year, I was a teacher, and I'd had two students that had type 1 diabetes in my classroom. So I knew like a little. I know, I feel like that's totally such like a God moment, but I had two students in my class that had type 1 diabetes. So I knew a little, but not much.
That is interesting. I feel like that was planned by somebody up above. That's
I
crazy.
know, it was crazy. So yeah, so I knew a little, but and in my family, my cousin got type 1 diabetes at 35, 36, but my cousin has a long history with heavy drugs. And so we thought, well, maybe that was caused. But I also, upon diagnosis, got the antibody testing, and I had the antibodies. So who knows who knows? Maybe, I feel like I was always destined to get type 1. I don't know.
Your story is very similar to mine though, also because I had COVID and then 3 months later I was diagnosed. So it's just interesting how that all works.
I know. Well, there's a lot of stories. I mean, there's an article I've read that people that had COVID then went on to develop type 1 diabetes, which is crazy.
How are you with gluten? Like, do you have an issue with gluten at all?
No, I don't have anything. I mean, I remember got food sensitivity test a long time ago, slight sesame allergy, whatever that means. So food has always been fine. Like, I've had stomach issues sometimes, like TMI, like going to the bathroom and stuff like that, but nothing with food, like no other autoimmune disorder, luckily, for now.
The gene, like the antibody gene for diabetes, is the same as celiac. So if like you test positive for one, the chances are high. I don't know. That's at least what my gastro said, because I tested positive for celiac, and I was like, "Lady, I have type 1," and she was like, "Oh yeah, they're the same antibody," and I was like, "Yeah, so
Well, there you go.
prone to both, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, so that's why I was curious about food, but."
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, no, I don't. So luckily, but probably solve some carb counting issues if I did. I don't know.
How do you manage your diabetes now?
I'm on an insulin pump, Omnipod 5. I've been on that pretty since diagnosis. Maybe, I don't even know, maybe a year I was on MDI. I don't really quite remember. But yeah, I'm on Omnipod 5 now. So yeah.
And you like it?
I do. I mean, I just posted a whole rant on my Instagram, but I'm like pretty controlled because I'm pretty type A and like on top of things. So an Omnipod 5, I don't think Omnipod 5 is type A, you know. The Omnipod 5 is very chill, especially in auto mode. So I'm curious what my A1C is, you know, compared to me manually managing it and now being on auto mode.
I
We'll
see what
see.
you're saying. So like
Yeah.
you wish it'd work a little faster?
Yeah, I just wish like the 110 range I think is good. I wish it was set like a little lower overnight, or I don't know, I wish you could override it sometimes, you know, like especially when your CGM is kind of catching up. I wish maybe you could like do a 10-minute override or something, knowing that it's kind of that lag, because I find that it's just very conservative system. You know, it will delay my insulin, and yeah, it catches a low, but it's way too conservative. And then I'll pop up to like 150 because I think it just was too much, too much of that pausing of my insulin.
Oh,
So,
I see. Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
I'm on pen, so I'm like I'm always taking in the pump information because I'm like, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love not having to inject. I'm very like, I need the precise, like rounding up really just kind of drove me nuts. I felt like I was always going low because it was either too much, like I'm an over boluser. So, or I would go high because it wasn't enough. So like that kind of just drove me crazy. And I exercise a lot. So I loved being able to like manipulate my background insulin. I felt like on pens, my background insulin was just too heavy for when I was working out. So yeah, I don't know. I like the freedom of pens sometimes, if there's less variables, you know, like that manipulating of the background insulin. And I feel like I'm always figuring out my basal rates, but I like also not having to inject, you know, if I'm going to have something that's 3 carbs, 4 carbs, whatever, I can give 0.4 units, you know. I like that part. So
That is really nice because yeah, some things I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna have to go a little high for this because a unit of insulin might be too much or whatever the case may be. So
I know. So yeah, I do like Omnipod 5. I think I have a love-hate relationship with automated mode. Being a new mom, I think I do love it, you know, to catch those lows, especially having lows with a baby, just they suck. So having more conservative is nice, but you know, now that my husband and I are kind of talking about starting another family, I need to make sure my, you know, my A1C is where it should be before we get pregnant again. And I don't know, I hope it's not it's not too bad, it's not too affected. So
and so you had your son after you were diagnosed.
yes, so I had a type 1 pregnancy, and that I still have PTSD from it. I think I just that managing of blood sugars in such a tight range, such a tight control. I'm not looking forward to it again. I'm really not. And I'm nervous because I kind of have let go of control a little bit because I was so well managed even before my diagnosis. But then when I was pregnant, I was really, really strict, you know, going on walks, doing squats, taking insulin, 45-minute pre-boluses. Like it was just a lot. And I just don't, I can do it again, but I don't want to do it again. You know, I've kind of let go of control. So I think I have to get back in that mindset of doing it again. And with a little one now, like trying to figure out his eating, you know, my pre-bolus timing, just gonna put another hat in the mix, I guess. So yeah.
What was the range the doctors told you to stay in during pregnancy?
I don't remember the low, but I think it was under 140. Yeah.
But I've heard also stories of doctors just kind of spitting whatever they want out. It's different for everybody, but under 140, yeah, that's tough.
I think it was yeah, it was. And I think I had set my alarms prior. I mean, I'm pretty well managed, and a lot of the times I spike to 140 with whatever I eat. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's rough, but
The
you do it.
hardest trimester for you?
Second for sure.
Oh, really? Okay.
First was a ton of lows. And the bolusing with the nausea, that was tough to navigate. But second trimester, the resistance was just horrible. It was really, really hard, like 45-minute pre-boluses, spiking to 200 with like eggs and a piece of toast. And it was like my blood sugar would not come down. It just would not come down unless I would go for like an aggressive 45-minute walk with like a bunch of insulin on board. It was wild. And then third trimester, or like right before third trimester, it evened out and my insulin needs dipped a lot. So then of course I was like freaking out because I think they were saying that something with the baby and the placenta because it's not giving off so many hormones. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, my baby's dying, my insulin needs are dropping. So it was so hard. It kind of took away from it for me. And I don't want it to the second time around. And hopefully it won't, now I kind of know what to expect. So hopefully it will be a little bit better, but we'll have to see.
Gosh, and I'm sure like when you would hit that 200 number, you were freaking out because they told you to stay under 140. Like I would be freaking out.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it was crazy too, because my blood sugar doesn't spike a ton to 200. Like I said, I'm type A, like I'm aware that I'm a control freak with my blood sugars. And so seeing that was just something I wasn't really used to. And then on top of it being pregnant, I just felt like responsible for this life. I just didn't know. I had a ton of people though, reassure me that people had healthy babies back in the day when there were no CGMs. But of course, when you're in it, you're just freaking out and you want the best already for your baby. So it was hard. And, Caleb was born perfectly fine. His blood sugars were perfectly fine at birth. So I don't know. I don't know how I'll feel. Maybe I'll feel fine, but I'm sure I'll worry knowing me.
Yeah, of course. It's natural.
Mm-hmm.
How old is your son now?
He's 14 months.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, 14 months. So it's a fun age, he's walking, he's fake laughing, pointing at things, starting to speak in his language. So
yeah, that is a good age. That's like when they really get a personality.
Oh yeah, it's so cute. It's so fun. So yeah.
Do you have any fears around your son getting type 1 diabetes?
All the time. Like I'll sit him down at dinner and he'll chug water and I'll check his blood sugar because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so thirsty. And he's fine, or like I remember one time I checked it. He's usually like 95 when I check it. I remember one time I checked it and I think he was like 115 or 120 and I freaked out. And I'm like, okay, wait, no, he just ate and he had pasta. And so but it's scary, because I just, you don't want anyone to have type 1 diabetes. Like no one. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I wouldn't wish it on children, especially. Like that is so hard. And so it's always just a fear, but I feel like I would be capable, of course. But sometimes I feel like I can't manage myself. I wouldn't want to manage my child either, but I just can't go there, I guess.
Did that have any impact on like your decision to have kids? Like, did you think about that before? I mean, like, do I want to have kids because of that risk?
Yeah, I definitely did. I mean, I just was scared of like passing that on, but my husband reminded I'm always scared, I'm like a type 6, scared of everything, but we just can't live in fear because you don't know what can happen. So of course I'm glad that I did. Like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine my life without him.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, because I know some people that have type 1 that now don't want to have kids because of it, and it's so sad because it's like you should still be able to have kids, but I also get the fear. For sure.
Totally. I know. And my husband and I talk about, I think at 2 we can test him to see if he has the antibodies, and I kind of want to know just for peace of mind because I'm always going to live every day. If he's chugging water, if he's doing this, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, diabetes. So even if I know if he has the antibodies, like, yeah, maybe I'll still be waiting for the shoe to drop. But if I know he doesn't, then it's like, oh, I can let go and not worry about that anymore. But My husband doesn't want to, and I'm not like crazy. I need to know. So I guess, kind of just is what it is. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe we'll revisit one day.
Yeah. And you'd be the best person to take care of them, living with it yourself. So
I know, hopefully. So, and my husband, knows all the things too now.
yeah.
So I know he's well taken
Yeah,
care
it's
of.
the
But
best team for sure.
yeah, totally. I think that's a fear of every type 1 parent, I would imagine.
Yeah, I can't. Oh my
Mm.
goodness, I can't even imagine. But
Mhm.
and the good news, I guess, is you were diagnosed as an adult, which it's less of a chance that your kid would get it, I believe, since you were over like a certain age.
Yeah, I thought it was less of a chance if it's over 30, if you're a woman,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's some other factors. But I talked to my pediatrician about it and he said, well, no, he's still, because I thought it was like the same chance as any kiddo getting it. And he said, no, my son is like a little bit higher risk. So I'm not sure, but I know.
I thought the same as you. I thought like if
Yeah,
you were a woman and got diagnosed as older
I
and you
know.
had kids older, it was less
Yeah,
chance.
maybe that's what it is.
My endocrinologist told me it was 4% chance for me, and I was diagnosed at 29, so similar
Mhm,
age.
mhm.
I'm like
Yeah, okay. Well,
4%. That's great. That's a great number. That.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I need to worry a little less now.
What would you say, like now being a mom is like the hardest part of type 1 diabetes?
I think, I don't know. I mean, not managing it, I suppose. I feel like the pre-bolus time, with being a new mom and that mom anxiety and all that stuff, I'll get kind of anxious when I've bolused and I'm trying to like plate everything, I'll ask my husband, like, okay, my bolus time, like, gotta go. So that's kind of hard, timing everything. And if Caleb needs something, but I got to take care of myself first, right? Because if I'm on the floor because I have low blood sugar, he can't be taken care of. So I think pre-bolusing and low blood sugars are just a bummer when you have a kid. You just kind of have to lay there and lock yourself in the room with them and let them do what they're going to do until your blood sugar comes up.
Are you working now too, or no?
No, I'm home. So that's nice. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine having to throw that into the mix as well.
Be another thing. Although I feel like my blood sugars were in such a good place working because I ate at the same time, so who knows? Maybe they would be better, but
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, it's more of a schedule, yeah.
totally. But one less thing to worry about is good.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think like the diabetes world will look like in 5 to 10 years?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I get all of these emails, about trials and I don't know, these pouches with insulin. And I really hope that there would be some type of cure and I don't know, some type of making it a little bit better. I mean, these automated systems, I just started it. And sometimes I really do feel like I just kind of let the automated system do its thing sometimes, with catching my lows and kind of correcting my highs a little bit. And so that in a way feels like a pancreas, right?
Mhm.
5 years, 5 years, probably same old, 10 years. I don't know. I hope when we're old and gray, we're like not taking insulin and not on pumps. And who knows? I don't know. That's my hope. But
I think it'd be really cool I don't know how they would do this, but somehow create a pump that's like in your body. So you don't have to wear one on the outside, but like they somehow input it. I don't know how that would work, but that'd be cool if it was just automated.
yeah. Well, and
Artificial pancreas.
yeah, I think I read or I listened to some podcast and it was like a pouch with insulin and they would insert it into your stomach or something and it would somehow release, but I don't think they've worked everything out yet. And I'm probably totally butchering what it is, but that would be cool. I would get the surgery every 10 years. What do you need to do? Cut my stomach? Great.
Yeah.
So, but I think about people who've been living with type 1 diabetes for 30 years and 20 years, and I feel like I'm in the back of the line. You know what I mean? Help all those people, help the kiddos first, and then you can help me, you know?
I agree 100%. The kids, I just went to the JDRF walk
Mm.
yesterday, and it's just like I hate seeing the little kids walking around in their capes. I like start to tear up every time. It's just nobody should have to live with it at that age.
No,
Or
it's so
at all, but especially
at all. I know it's so hard. And diabetes is such a weird disease, right? Like we're not, I don't know, we're not walking around visibly looking like we have this autoimmune disorder, but it's there every day, every decision we make, right? From when we wake up, from when we go work out, from when we go on a walk, from what we eat, from just everything. It's so hard. So it's a really weird
I mean,
disease.
it's a disability, and unfortunately people don't see it that way because like you said, they look at us and we look normal, so
Mhm.
they don't get it. But I always tell people, it's 10 times harder than you think it is. Like, so give me a little grace.
It's so hard. Yeah. And it's the times like I recently went out to Arizona for a friend's bachelor or baby shower. We're past the bachelorette now, but baby shower. And we had like pasta and we got crumble cookies, and cookies are like my pizza. I just struggle to bolus for. And I still eat it, and I was like 250 all night and just slept bad because my alarms are going off, and it's just frustrating when you're there with your best friends and you just want to have fun and your diabetes gets in the way. And if I didn't say anything, no one would know anything, right? But I know because I feel crappy, I'm sleeping poorly, so it's just those things that I don't know. I wish I didn't have to deal with, but
No.
yeah.
And I'm curious, did you share a room with anybody on that trip?
Yeah, I was with my best friend. So, and she's so cute. She like always tries to learn. Like, she's like, you need insulin right now. Like, she'll tell, like, or you need sugar right now. So, but I think she was out. She's a mom too. So she was like,
Okay. Okay, good. Because I was on a bachelorette party and the same thing happened. I had to share a room with 3 other girls and my
Mhm.
Dexcom was going off. And I was like, I was so embarrassed. I felt bad. But it's also just like, why do I have to deal with this right now?
I know, right? And that's the thing, the alarms, like, I'll just be, I don't know, in a class with my son and the alarm goes off and everyone's looking and I get embarrassed, but I don't know why. It's so silly. But
I mean, I think it's because of the connotation around diabetes. Everyone thinks it's from sugar. And so when I tell
mhm.
people I have diabetes, it's like I always have to explain myself, I feel like, and that's just always it's very frustrating. But
It's so frustrating. Yeah, and explain it. And I feel like people want to learn, but it's so complex. And I don't know how to really dumb it down. So then I feel like people's eyes glaze over. Then I feel stupid for trying to explain it. Yeah.
what is one piece of advice you'd give to someone newly diagnosed?
What would I say?
Or maybe somebody that's looking to get pregnant too.
I know. Well, newly diagnosed, I would say that it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And just reach out to the online diabetes community because that was one of the first things I did. I found so many accounts and I just remember being like, these girls are normal and they're cute and they're working out and like, I'm going to be okay. And so and people were so nice. Like, so many people reached out and so many people would give me advice and so much more helpful than any endocrinologist I've ever had. So that would be my piece of advice. And if you were trying to get pregnant, I don't know, again, find someone's Instagram, someone you can talk to. And just pre-bolus. I think pre-bolus is the biggest thing that helped me go for walks.
That's great advice because I wouldn't even I like now I do 15-minute pre-boluses, but you got to do much longer.
Oh yeah, I got up to like 45 minutes. Yeah, it was crazy. And I don't know how, like, food gets cold. How could you not, like, going out to restaurants, food doesn't take 45 minutes.
I was
Yeah,
going to say going out to eat would be such a challenge.
it was so hard. My husband and I went to Palm Springs on our baby moon, and it was horrible because my blood sugar was so high the whole time. Like, eating out, going to restaurants, not being able to pre-bolus, don't know the carb count. So I was high like that whole weekend. It was so stressful, not even relaxing, but yeah.
Well, that's also good to know that your baby's healthy and you had those moments.
Yeah, he was so healthy. I mean, my blood sugar went to 200. I can't tell you how many times, but he was totally healthy, born with perfect blood sugar. And my blood sugar was managed during my delivery, which was so nice. I was apprehensive about doing that, but man, I'm like, I wish someone could manage my blood sugar all the time.
Seriously, that sounds wonderful.
It's so nice, except for being woken up every hour to check my blood sugar. That was annoying because I just wanted to sleep, especially once I had the epidural, but it's all right.
You got to do what you got to do.
And then you gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, thanks so much for being here today. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Well, good talking to you.
Yes, you too.
Yeah.